Hey, I'm Chris Schultz. Welcome to Cosmico, and I'm joined by Jeremy Lyon. Jeremy has a
How's it
band
going?
called King Dream, and they're going to be playing on Friday night at Cosmico. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chris.
We're super excited to have King Dream at Cosmico. You and I connected this past fall, and I spent about 2 weeks solid listening to nothing but King Dream on Spotify.
Oh, hell
After
yeah.
we got connected,
Through
it
Rob,
was
right?
yeah, through
Uh,
Rob.
yeah, yeah. Acid Palace.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
awesome.
Acid. He
He's
was
at
he's
every
obviously a
show.
big supporter. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And you've been putting out a lot of new music lately. Tell us a little bit about King Dream. Love to, have people hear a little more about your music.
Yeah, I started writing the first batch of King Dream tunes in like 2016, and Graham Patzner from Whisker Man, we kind of made like a New Year's Day acid pact in 2017 to make a record together, and then we actually followed through on it, and we're in the studio a few months later and made the first record that came out like summer 2018, and then started touring a lot, kind of just doing grassroots DIY West Coast stuff. And then the band sort of evolved from being the studio project and into actually kind of being a live band with a lot of my sort of best friends and closest collaborators over the past 10 years from previous bands. So, like my best friend since high school, Zach, plays bass in the group, and then Nick Cobbett and Adam Nash play drums and lead guitar, and they were touring with me in my old band, Tumbleweed Wanderers. I'm wearing the shirt right now, but we did a whole like national tour back in 2015, and the band kind of disbanded after that, but I was able to bring them back into the fold for this project. And yeah, then we basically we started recording at the beginning of 2020. We were doing like a 4 song EP in January, and we were gonna sort of tour that and try to you know get a label interested to make a full record. And then with COVID and lockdown, obviously that wasn't happening. So I learned how to engineer and produce and mix like over Zoom with Jonathan Kirchner from Combrio. He started kind of teaching a bunch of people in our sort of SF Bay Area music scene how to be able to stay creative, through recording and during lockdown. And basically that 4 song EP turned into like a 24 song collection of music. I kind of just kept recording and mixing some of my own stuff, and I'd be working at the studio in Emeryville called, well, it was called New Improved. Now it's called Brothers Chinese, but the Polici brothers. So I kind of just kept recording, and then it turned into like this trilogy of albums. I was kind of like 24 songs, like 100 minutes. Like that's kind of a lot to ask someone to sit down and listen to straight through for a band that's, still new and they haven't
And
really heard
that's
of.
Glory
So
Days, right?
that's Glory Days. Yeah, so it became Glory Days volumes 4 through 6, which is kind of like it's DAZE, so it's kind of like a play on Springsteen, who was like my first or he's my
Yeah.
second concert I went to. But yeah, he's like an early influence for me, and then and Star Wars trilogy. And it was 4 through 6 also because I'd done, 2 albums with my old band Tumbleweed Wanderers, and then the debut solo record. And then this kind of felt like, even though it was a sophomore album for King Dream, it felt kind of like my fourth record, where I'd put all my heart and energy into a
Yeah.
collection of songs. So yeah, Volume 4 came out last spring, and we did a Europe tour for that for about a month in like Germany, Czech Republic, Austria, and that was super fun. It was like best months of my life. And yeah, doing some more, did kind of some more like West Coast California stuff coming back from that. And then we put out Volume 5 this past January. You were at that show
Yeah.
in Berkeley. And yeah, now we're kind of, I've been doing more studio projects the last couple months, and now we're kind of like gearing up to be touring that record more this summer and going into the fall.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. So and Volume
Um,
6 is coming out later this year.
oh, good. All right. Yeah,
The,
you
the
got
dramatic conclusion to the Glory Days trilogy.
to the trilogy. All right.
Yeah, but yeah, each record was a little more like genre specific, like, or it was just more wanting to have a consistent vibe where you could kind of put on the record. And a lot of earlier on I've been more into like journey records where it's like, every song's different and there's this whole arc to it, but then one song's anthemic rager, and then you've got this kind of sensitive minimalist ballad next, and it can be, if you're putting it on at a party or something, it can be a bit of a weird, it's kind of all over the place. So
Yeah.
so four was like our anthemic rock record. It was sort of more like inspired by listening to like alternative radio in the 90s and the aughts growing up. And then this one that just came out, five, is more, is getting into a little more like bedroom, like neo soul, R&B, and like more psychedelic rock, and just kind of like a bit more experimental in it, and kind of darker and stranger. And then the next one's kind of more like very sunset Americana cruising kind of vibes. So yeah.
Nice. Nice. The vibes, just sort of the overall King Dream vibe is something you're kind of hitting on that, that I'd love to have you kind of describe. Anthemic, you mentioned, I think of, we were just talking before we, kind of began about your set. Your set is going to be at Cosmico, a sunset set. So
Hmm.
I think of kind of a anthem, just kind of rocking, as the sun's going down, and whatever you're
Yeah.
enjoying might be kicking in, and you're feeling good and enjoying the
I, I
vibe. Yeah.
I think we should be a good fit. But it's like I feel like people have kind of referred to our sound as more like cosmic rock or like celestial rock. It's like it's got, there's a lot of kind of like swirly delays and kind of like ethereal effects going on with the guitars and the vocals, and it's pretty layered uh for a four-piece band at least.
It's
And
a lot of music. It's a lot of music.
yeah, there's a lot of guitar.
A lot of guitar,
It's a
which I
lot of guitar,
love.
a lot of
Yeah.
lot of harmonies. I think also we just kind of like grew up, like, I mean, yeah, me and my buddy Zach, it's like, we'd be playing a bunch of like high school all ages shows, and it's like at that time, and we also would busk a lot, like in our old band, we'd be we kind of started out as a busking band, just be going out every day to bar, or like playing outside of shows around the Bay Area, like the Fox or the Greek, or stuff like that. But it's like when you're busking, you are playing these kind of high energy all ages shows, it's like you got to sing so loud, or you're rehearsing in a garage over a drum kit with like a shitty PA. So it's like, yeah, that's just the sound we grew up singing, is like you got to be singing at the top of your lungs, like singing out, trying to fill a room, compete over a
Hmm.
drum kit. It's like a lot more contemporary music now. It's like it's very whispery, like more ASMR, kind of like into your AirPods for listening alone, So I don't know. That's definitely where the anthemic instincts come from, I think, and just
Yeah.
like early influences for me were Petty and Springsteen, and then moving on now, it's more, My Morning Jacket and Flaming Lips,
I hear a little
Wolfgang,
war on
that kind of
drugs in there
stuff.
too.
War on Drugs, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, especially with Glory Days 4, that was, yeah, it's crazy because Lost in the Dream's been out for 10 years. I remember like when that came out, and Deeper Understanding. Yeah, it's just like they're just such great sounding rock records,
Yeah, they
production
are.
on it. It's amazing.
Good. All right. Well, what we were talking about the sunset set. I know you're, now, Sonoma County resident out in Bodega. We're going to be in Guerneville. The sun, where the stage is set, the sun's going down over the redwoods, kind of going down behind you. I'll tell you my pick for, one of your songs in your set, and then I'm interested to hear what some of your picks are.
Hmm.
But because maybe somebody listening will want to go check these songs out. But I definitely hear Oberon coming through. That's a beautiful
Yeah.
anthem
Oh yeah,
song. Yeah.
that's we're playing that for sure. Definitely gonna play that one. That one's been that was one that I feel like there's always a couple songs that like start the next record. I don't know. I feel like I'll finish a record, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna make another one. Who knows? And then like you get a couple new songs, and you're like, okay, I really like these, and I believe in these. And I think we can, I think we can do this again. And Oberon was definitely, there was Oberon and Wish I Could Call You Now, were like the two off of Glory Days 4 that kind of revved up the whole kind of project again, where you're like, okay, I'm feeling these songs, and I'm stoked on them. Yeah, that one I was like, I think I wrote that in like Thailand. I had like a little Volca drum machine, one of these guys, and then I just like tuned the E string down to a C sharp. It's like a weird drop C sharp thing where you get that drony gallop. But
Huh.
yeah, I was in Thailand with my dad, and he found weed as soon as we got there from like a dude on the beach, and then
As you do on
yeah, so that one, and Return to Zero as well kind of came out of that trip. Which Return to Zero is on this new record, and Return to Zero is a crazy song where we recorded it all like remotely during the pandemic in one day and broadcast the whole thing onto Twitch. It was crazy. Scott McDowell, who'd mixed the first record, he'd figured out a way to like there was an Audio Movers plugin where like you can be recording in your session and then anyone can listen to the session. Like it basically sends them a live stream link. So you could, I mean, cool too. It'd be like, whatever band, if you have like your favorite band and they could let you in like on the actual process of recording, you know, the in real time.
Wow.
But
I
yeah,
mean, a
that
lot of
was
innovation was coming through during the pandemic with, people cooped up at home, but everybody on high speed internet and all these new tools and technologies, you know, kind of
yeah.
cool to see what all came out of it.
But yeah, if anyone's curious about Return to Zero, there's a 10-hour full session live stream that's somewhere up on Twitch.
Of the full session.
Yeah.
What is you're in the studio a lot, not just with King Dream music, but you're recording a lot of other bands.
Mhm.
Talk to me a little bit about the recording and then just the balance in your interest, being in a in studio mindset and then, getting out on the road and performing because,
Mhm.
in this day and age, I mean, it's hard to be Steely Dan anymore. You kind of got to get out on the road and showcase your music, right? To you know
Mhm.
to get it build audience.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's been I mean, I've been fortunate to just be recording music I love and, recording my friends. I've been working we just did like the third Suzanimal record up here, and she's got an awesome band. It's like a lot of the Cumbria people. But it's kind of got like a Tom Tom Club sort of vibe, or it's just like their music's such a party vibe that and like no one else is really doing that kind of sound in the Bay that I've heard of. And yeah, I've been recording Rainbow Girls, my wife's band, which is it's great because they're like next door basically, and they're on tour a lot, so it's just kind of like whenever they're yeah. I mean, it's pretty much like you're just trying to get into this the flow where you're like, if I'm not on tour, I'm in the studio, and if I'm not making records, I'm playing shows, and it's like for me that's and it's always kind of like, well, what do you want or what are you looking for out of music? And it's like that's been my favorite cycle or process the whole time of like writing songs, making records, playing shows, writing songs, making records, playing shows. And I mean, it's with recording. I think it's like because I engineer, produce, or mix, and it's like it's about kind of figuring out what level of feedback people or involvement people are looking for in their projects when you're working with other people. I think it's like there's probably maybe old school producers where it's like I'm the producer and everyone's gonna do what I say and I'm gonna tell the drummer what to play and tell and it's like maybe someone wants that. Maybe they don't have a lot of ideas, but a lot of people have a lot of ideas about their music and are not necessarily wanting, someone who's sort of totally dominating the creative process. So yeah, I think whenever I'm approaching a recording project, it's figuring out what sort of involvement someone's looking for on my end. And it's also, I'm still just doing it in the spare room in a two-bedroom house. And the tracking room's like the foyer basically. So with a bunch of, acoustic panels up there to try to deaden it. So,
Right.
we're always like figuring out how to make the most professional thing we can in a home studio kind of makeshift workspace. So, yeah, but with live, it's like everything moves a lot quicker live too. It's like, it's like I think I've had that where it'll be like your first show back or something, and like just getting the pace up to speed where you're like quick transitions of songs, like keeping things moving quick. And that's the part where it's like once you've been touring for a while, like all of those transitions and just like the whole rhythm of the show really locks in, and then it's feeling tight and polished. So yeah, it's fine. Like we just did a run of a few shows over the past week, and it was like the third show we did was like an Earth Day thing in Santa Rosa, like in a public square. It was like middle of the afternoon, like not a super flashy rock and roll gig or anything, but like that was the best set we played out of the three by far. We like kind of came off and like, dude, we fucking crushed that set. That was there was like some of the songs like, man, that's the best we've ever played that song, and there's not a lot of people there that are not necessarily there to see our band,
Well, that
but we crushed
like
it. Mm.
busking energy, that the energy where you got to grab the audience's attention, that
Yeah,
that sounds like that's good, foundational, kind of, upbringing, or where you came from, where that you bring it back and kind of, grab that audience's attention, right?
yeah, because you only get a few seconds, and it's fun. Like, yeah, there's just a different dynamic when there's not necessarily the expectation that you're going to be playing there. There no one's really knowing what to expect. You got like the element of surprise with
Yeah,
busking,
yeah,
and they're like, oh, I didn't think there would be music, and there's music. That's great,
right.
and you're
Um,
connecting with the people you might not see at your show otherwise. It's kind of random people on the street.
Totally. All right. So let's just set another scene here, and I'll get you to kind of jump into the future, imagining the future. We're at
Hmm.
Cosmico. We're coming off set break. The sun's coming through the redwoods. You might be walking back from the bar, having a cocktail or having a beer, and you hear the sounds of King Dream cranking it up, coming off the stage. Have you thought about it? Are you ready to give us an opener yet?
Well, let's see. I'm thinking when it's nighttime, we're going past, present, future. But I think we'd probably go with Golden Shorts if we're thinking it's sunset too. That one's like because we've been in we're in more of our groove, our like a little more slinky R&B vibe. So I'm thinking that, and that one's just it's a real good vibe to start out with. It's like once the groove kicks in on that pre-chorus, and it's like it's real up there in the range, which is kind of fun. It's like a little freaky to start with it, and it's nice to like get everyone in this little more, yeah, just more like a groove zone for a bit, and then we kind of bring in the anthemic rock, and then
I
we can
like it.
kind of,
I think that works pretty well. I don't know if you know the band that is playing before you, Object
oh,
Heavy out of
Object Heavy.
Humboldt. Object Heavy is
Hmm.
going to be leading
Yeah,
into
they've been
you.
crushing
So
it.
coming out of
They're
that,
like a funk
with a
band, right?
little, yeah, funk
Soul.
kind of groove, they're more
Hmm.
soul, heavy soul. So coming out of that
Yeah,
with a groove audience, keep that groove going, and then
yeah. I
get into
always
some of
like
that
with the set.
FM.
It's like it's great to be listening to who's playing before you too, and it's like sometimes you kind of come in, you're like, we're coming in with like our most high energy song. We're gonna fucking like beat everyone over the face with it. It's gonna be so epic, and then you're like, well, where do we go from there? It's like it's a whole journey to kind of like you want to bring people in, and then figure out where you can kind of take it from there. But it's so yeah, it's feeling like starting out. We can kind of bring it from a more kind of funk R&B soul zone, start out there, and then kind of get more into the anthemic sort of cosmic rock, and then we can kind of go into the deeper, weirder, heavy shit, as night falls.
As night falls. All right. All
Yeah.
right. Well, it's going to be fun. We can't wait to have you at Cosmico, Jeremy. And
Yeah. Thanks so much for having us, Chris. Yeah, the whole band's really stoked, and I'm glad we're playing a festival like in our, just a few minutes away too, and it's fun to be doing these kinds of festivals where there's like so much intention put into curating it, and it's like at a size where you can really feel the community and be a part of community, and that's like, my favorite stuff to do, and that's what it's all about. So it's always usually we're like, that's what we want to be doing, and it's like, how do we find more of these kinds of festivals? Because you know there's some of them, and it's a lot of work to put it on, and sometimes you're like, oh, we should try to do that one, and then they're like, we're not doing that festival anymore because a lot of love goes into it, and starting to make money on those too. So we're really stoked and excited to be a part of it.
Good. Yeah, we are too. And everything you're saying is true. A lot of love going into it. It's not easy, but it's gonna be epic. It's gonna be a lot of
Yeah.
fun. And we're excited to have you, Jeremy.